Hello again, John Dowling, co-founder of By the Boxes work order tracking app. My partner Kevin Landers, president and owner of RocketWise IT Consulting, who also works within the heavy equipment industry. So a little bit about myself. I've been in the heavy equipment industry for 30 years. Have worked at just about every level of a dealership, from a technician, service manager, store manager to executive management. And so now I take those 30 years of experience, and in those 30 years of experience, God has blessed me with a lot of mentors who have taught me a lot along the way. And so now I just want to give back. So I have a YouTube channel dedicated to best in class service management, free content. Anybody who wants to learn, anybody who wants to be successful, is encouraged to like and share, subscribe to the Service by the Boxes YouTube channel. But today, once again, I want to show you another scenario using By the Boxes work order tracking app, and to be able to see the benefit of having visibility of what's going on in your service department. Like we've talked about this multiple times, a service manager has to run a WIP report and literally has pages of pages he's got to look through to try to figure out what's going on with what work order, and just not knowing. Nobody knows what's going on, and that's the issue. Is not only does nobody know what's going on in the service department, nobody understands the service department. So in my book Service by the Boxes, I break down the service department in very simple understanding stages, or what I call boxes, that will help anybody who is managing a service department. It's even beneficial for parts departments as well. So strongly encourage anybody to buy that book. You can find it on Amazon. Literally, you can just Google "Service by the Boxes" John Dowling, and you'll find the book. But let's take a look at this scenario we have here. And so, if you've watched the other videos, we see that with the book, we've broken down the service process. And in here on the app, it's 11 steps: the inbox, the tech box, the parts to be estimated box, service to be estimated, waiting on approval, parts to be estimated box, parts on order box, tech box, work completed box, and customer pickup box. And so by segregating the service process, breaking it down into steps and stages, and we've done this multiple times already, as we visually look through the service department process, and we're looking at to increasing throughput through the service process, it's easy for us to see the bottlenecks. If you have a printed report out and with a bunch of numbers on it, it's hard to figure out what's going on. And usually the GM, the service or GM, the store manager, the branch manager, the regional vice president at dealerships that struggle, especially to weaponize their parts and service department to attack the market, is because everybody's afraid to dig in. Everybody's afraid to jump in because there's no visibility. It's complex. There's a lot of moving pieces. And so the philosophy of Service by the Boxes is to take the big and complex and break it down to center on little bite-sized pieces. So from complex to simple is really what we're driving for. So when we look at this scenario, we see the inbox is not doing too shabby. I've got my numbers here, so I state them right, so I don't have to count on camera. So we've got 6 incoming work orders. These are work orders that are opened and just needs to be assigned to technicians. We have 9 in the tech box. So these are 9 work orders that have been assigned to technicians, and the technicians may be physically diagnosing and creating parts lists on these 9 pieces of equipment. But the parts to be estimated and service to be estimated, we have 13 and parts to be estimated and 11 on service to be estimated. So sometimes you bring it down, you can really see the effect here. And really what we see here already, all of a sudden, as we're moving across the screen here, we see the bottleneck. It's that simple. It's that simple. Here's the bottleneck. And the reason we know it's a bottleneck is because waiting on approval, parts to be ordered and parts on order, as you can see, is a significantly less number or amount of work orders as in the two previous columns or boxes. And so the estimation process at this location, at this service department, that's really the problem. I mean, as we kind of move through here, we could look, yes, there are some work orders that are completed that we need to get closed. But if you watch the last video, on every work order card we have, or tile, whatever you would like to call them, we have the days, the age of the work order, and we have how long has it been in the box, in that particular box. So when we look at these 2 hours, 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour, less than an hour. So that's not really our problems. Those are work orders that have been completed, and the service technicians has completed the service report and has turned that into the service department. Now we may have a problem here at this customer pickup because we have 10 work orders here. And so that means that we have 10 machines waiting for the customer to come in and pick up. So that might be a problem. But those work orders are completed. And hopefully, if you look at a lot of them, they were moved in there today, less than an hour ago. So really, we should see that clean up in the next couple of days. But this is a major hurdle or problem here, because this is the bottleneck. It's the estimation process. And so if I was coaching the service manager, or if I was a store manager or a corporate manager at this dealership, when I see this, I realize there's the way that we're estimating or quoting these jobs is an issue. It's taken way too much time. And so I'd like to find out, what is the bottleneck. Some dealerships, and as you can see, we've got this separated parts estimate and service estimate. Some dealerships separate that out. Other dealerships, their service technicians or service managers have access to look up the part numbers to get the parts pricing and see if the parts are available, if they're in stock. So when we look at this, I'm seeing that majority of my work orders, and so we have a total of 70 work orders on this whole screen here. And so a good portion of them are in the estimating process. The largest number of work orders are in the parts to be estimated, and we have 13. And so what I would do is, when I did my site visit, or if I emailed somebody or made a phone call to find out like what's going on, I would contact the back parts counter. So one of the things that undergirds the service by the boxes process or methodology is accountability. Now, this is what's key here. This is a game changer. And if you've ever managed multiple locations, you will truly appreciate this. Now, if you've read my book, Service by the Boxes, if you haven't, I strongly encourage you to read it. I strongly encourage you to buy it, just because my wife likes pretty things, and I need money to buy, to keep my wife happy. So, but back to Service by the Boxes. So if you've read my book, we make the statement in there is that there is a required action to move the work order from one box to the next to the next. And once we have identified that required action, we assign that required action to one individual, to one person that is responsible for that action. So the parts to be estimated box, not only is this a box, not only is this a required action, but this is a particular person. This is a particular employee. And let's just say the back parts counter person's name is Jim. And Jim is the one who looks up the parts and finds out parts availability and parts pricing, and then gives that to the service manager. So right now, Jim is my bottleneck. Jim is my bottleneck. you don't have to send a nasty gram to everybody in the service department or to that branch. If you've ever done that, you've realized it's counterintuitive just for the fact you upset everybody. And when you have upset employees, they're not very productive. Hollering and screaming and sending emails in all caps to employees that are not involved or not responsible or don't have any visibility or authority to solve the problem that you're concerned about doesn't work. And they get frustrated and mad, and morale goes down. And when morale goes down, productivity goes down. That's what I'm saying. It is counterproductive. This is the benefit of the service by the boxes methodology and by the boxes work order tracking app. Since we say each box, there's a required action to move from box to box to box, and that one required action is assigned to one person, and we're saying Jim, and right now Jim has 13 work orders tied up. Jim has 13 work orders tied up. So I'm not going to talk to the service manager. I'm not going to talk to the store manager. I'm not going to talk to the technicians and tell them to work harder and faster. I'm not going to talk to anybody in the dealership. I'm talking to one person. When I show up and do my site visit, I'm talking to one employee there. And I'm going straight to the back parts counter and I'm going to have a conversation with Jim. Now, I'm not going to berate him. I'm not going to holler and scream at him. I'm basically going to ask him, how is his day going? Is anything going on? How's his wife? How's his kids? To discover, is there any personal problems going on? Is there anything that I need to be made aware of? I want to know what's going on in his life, because his mom could have just passed away. His dad could have just been diagnosed with cancer. They could have had a miscarriage. I don't know that. I want to know that. And a lot of times, Jim might have personal problems that's affecting his performance at work. Now, how much of a jerk would you be if you find out that Jim's wife just had a miscarriage and they've been trying to get pregnant for the last 2 years and you're just concerned about 13 work order estimates? Not the way to build great culture. Not a good way to retain top talent. But let's say I have those conversations and everything's fine. Jim's doing great. Kids are healthy. Wife's happy. Everything's fine. And so I keep digging. How's work? Work's busy. How's it going? And trying to find out what's going on. And then he'll tell me something. And so what I'm about to say, I've changed all the names to protect the innocent, but this is real life scenarios. Jim, how's it going? How's work going? John, I've been really busy. We've had multiple large stock orders come in, and man, the parts manager's been having me check all the stuff in because our warehouse guy's been out sick. And not only do I have to check everything in, we've been busy on the counter. So he's having me stock all those parts that came in. And I go, oh, okay. That makes sense, Jim, because I wanted to ask you, why do we have 13 work orders estimates hung up and that we can't seem to get to progress through this process? And we're waiting on you, Jim, to do the estimates. But that makes sense, Jim. Thank you for letting me know. Now I'm going to the parts manager. Hey, parts manager, Jim tells me he can't seem to get his job done because he's picking up the slack for everybody else. What do you need? And it depends on the situation. I may say, hey, parts manager, you need to go back there and check into that equipment. If the parts manager is slammed, I may tell the store manager, hey, you need to go help out back in parts because our service process is getting backlogged because we're shorthanded. Or heck, I may go check in parts if it's that critical. Or I may find, if we're multiple location, I may find a parts person from a different location. Or sometimes I've sent my inventory manager to go check in the parts and make sure it's done correctly. But I hope you see the value here. Instead of shooting from the hip blindly and being very subjective on the way that we make decisions and address issues, with having visibility because of by the box's work order tracking app and a little bit of savviness when it comes to managing people, we can discover exactly what is the root cause, address that root cause fairly quickly so we can continue to progress the work order through the process because we want to maintain or increase our throughput. Because when you increase the throughput through your service shop, you increase profitability, you increase cash flow, you increase customer satisfaction, technician recovery rate, technician billing efficiency. All those things go up, 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 up when we increase throughput. But what hurts us when we try to increase throughput with the dealership is they don't know the process, or they don't have a process, and then they don't have visibility. They don't know 70 machines, 70 work orders. I'll challenge you now. Walk out to your service department if you have 70 machines and see if you can determine within 5 minutes exactly what stage every machine is in. If you can't, give me a call. I'd love to give you the ability to do that. Email me at John, John, John at servicebytheboxes.com, or you can email Kevin, Kevin at bytheboxes.com. We can set up a demo. We can discuss your issues. We'd love to help you be best in class, help you be a better manager, a better executive, and learn basic time-proven principles on how to increase your throughput in your service department. Choose to be successful and have a great day.